Hello everyone, today we are here to talk about fish. A lot of people think that aquascapers are overlooking fish most of the time, but in reality they are a really important addition to any aquascape. You can build your tank around the specific needs of a fish, or you can use a fish to elevate your scape to a different level by its size or colors, and there's a lot in between. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through the process of how we choose our fish in our aquariums and what you should take into consideration when you are choosing fish for your next setup or your current setup. You want to replace your fish. It's a lot of different things. Some of them are up to personal taste, some of them are actual rules, and there are some things in between which, if you really like animals, and probably you do if you have a tank, then you should keep in mind. Stay with me. The two main points we are looking out for when choosing fish is their size and their color. The size can come from two things. First of all, the size of the aquarium itself, and then the layout itself. Obviously, in a smaller tank, you're not going to put a big fish. If you just walk into a pet shop and you say you want to buy an angelfish, they're never going to ask what size of aquarium you have. And that's how people end up with angelfish in a 60-liter aquarium where they never belong. For example, in nano aquariums, we only use nano fish. So these are your Rasboras, some Tetras, but definitely just very, very small fish. Because these small aquariums can only be comfortable for them, it's never going to be comfortable for a bigger growing fish. Then there is the aspect of the aquarium itself. We're trying to preserve the ratios of the aquascape. In a lot of cases, when we build an aquarium, it resembles a true landscape, so it's something that should seem much bigger. We imagine that we are seeing big mountains in the background, which obviously are not that big. So if we put big fish next to them, we screw the ratio. Can I say screw on YouTube?
Probably, yes.
We screw the ratios right away, so those mountains gonna look like pebbles. And very, very small fish can help out a lot in that. Also, usually we want a bigger amount of fish, and again, that's more comfortable for them if they are small. And if you have discus fish or angelfish, you shouldn't put nano fish next to them because they're gonna hunt for them. So whenever you combine different fish, you always need to read how they work together and figure out if you are putting something very small next to some proper hunting fish, then obviously the small ones don't really stand a chance. And then as for the color, that's to complement your aquascape. So you choose your fish looking into your aquarium, seeing what colors you have in your aquarium, and you try to find something that fits. Now that's a lot up to taste. Whenever I build my bigger iwagumis, so like 120 piece, one of my favorite combination is Ember Tetras and kubotai Rasboras. The reasons behind it: first, size-wise, they are sort of similar. They are quite small fish, so they usually add to the effect of great mountains. The amandae usually swim on a lower level and the kubotai on the upper level. So I have the green plants on the bottom, I have the orange amandae in between, and then I have green again on the top with the kubotai. This is something that I discovered by accident, to be honest, so now it sounds like it's a very thought through process. No, it's not. It's just I tried them together and I found them to work perfectly. And also, although they are different species, for some reason they're pulling each other. So if the school of kubotai starts swimming from one side to the other, the amandae starts to follow them. And this way you have a great effect of fish almost all over the aquarium. Of course, depends on the amount as well. But they're moving in two separate schools, but still together. and that's something that I love to see in my tanks. Now, of course, on the color side, you can go with something basically colorless. We had scapes in the past where we wanted to see the movement of the fish, but we didn't want any bright colors. And that's where your black tetras come in, for example, black neons. And also they can work quite well if you have some bigger, less colorful fish. So for example, when you have classic angelfish, the ones with the black and silver lining, which we used to have, for example, in the 650 behind me, with those you don't want to put some bright red fish. You don't want to get the attention from your beautiful angelfish to your smaller schooling fish. That's not the reason you put in angelfish, especially these more special types. The same goes with discus. The discus fish are already very, very colorful. You choose the color you like the most. You most likely don't want to overweight or outweigh the color of them with the color of your schooling fish besides them. Combination of fish, but you don't need to have multiple species in your tank. You can go monospecies. Most people, I think, go with 2 or 3 species in the tank. I'm only talking about the decorational fish in your tank, so I'm not talking about the algae eaters and so on. There are people who are going for 15 different species, 2 of each. That's something I would avoid. Most fish live in groups. They feel good when there's at least 8 or 10 of them. I'm talking schooling fish, small fish. Your simple fish, your neon tetras, your pentazonas, they don't like to be in small numbers. They like to be in big groups of their own species. And if you have the comfortable amount, 8 or 10 of them from 5, 6, 7 different species, that's a lot of fish. So that requires a big aquarium. And at that point, none of them is gonna work as a schooling fish. So you're never gonna see that big group moving along together. As for going with 1 or 2 or 3 different types, I think it's more about the size of the aquarium. So for example, in a 60-liter tank, I usually recommend just 1 species of a small schooling fish. The reason is you can have a much more sense of movement. In bigger tanks, you can achieve the same with 2 or 3 different types. A lot of people bring this to the extreme, where they look for fish that live together in nature as well, which is something you can do. I think it's a different level of interest in aquariums and aquatic life. Most of us don't really take that aspect into consideration, and me neither, to be honest. Of course, we have all the necessary fish in our tanks, mainly the algae eaters. We have a whole separate video about algae eaters, how many you need, which types we recommend, and what combinations we usually use. So make sure to check that out. And with algae eaters comes shrimps as well. And this is something I think just as important with fish. Shrimp keeping became a big part of aquascaping. And in most scapes you have some shrimps, and not only Amano shrimps that we use for eating algae. Your neocaridinas, caridinas, the colorful shrimps, they are, well, not as big part of aquascaping as fish themselves, but in every second aquascape you see some shrimps as well. And I think they can be a nice addition too. They are lovely creatures and they are very, very fun to look at for a long time. So if you've never had shrimps, try it, trust me. They're very cool. Same goes for snails. We use them for algae eating, but they're also decorational. So there are lots and lots of different species of snails available for aquariums, and you can get different colors, you can get different patterns, different sizes again. So whatever you like. That's another aspect for choosing whatever animal we're talking about. In NA-style aquariums, we're usually going with classic fish types. When I say classic NA-style fish for NA-style aquariums. What I mean is these are the fish that Amano's son used in his layouts quite often. Angelfish, Congo tetras, and lots of gouramis, for example. And in these cases, you don't need to take care about the ratios of the tank. You don't care about the size of the fish as much, because these are not dioramas. These are not very finely put together works where the ratios of the things are so important. In these type of scapes and in any layouts in general, the fish are much more celebrated than they are now. They have a much more important role in the scapes themselves. I'm not saying it's wrong, it's the other way around now, but I think a lot of people still build NA-style scapes because of this, because they want to have a bigger importance for the fish in their aquarium and not just the plants, not just the layout. And the last aspect of choosing fish I want to talk about is the other way around. When you choose your fish and you build a tank for it. Best example, discus fish. We had a video about my 450 liter here in the showroom, which I've built for discus specifically. And for example, discus fish, they need warm water. So I needed to make sure that I'm going to choose plants that survive in warm water. We needed to do the whole build with this in mind, that I'm going to use discus fish. When you just Google a fish and you open the first page, you find, and you're going to see all the requirements listed, like pH range, temperature range. Those numbers, obviously their main preference, but they're not requirements. Good example, neon tetras. If you look at them online, you're going to see water temperatures of 28, 29 degrees, quite low pH, but you don't need to meet those requirements. You don't want to breed them, most likely, and they're going to be perfectly fine in colder water, like what we have, 22, 23 degrees Celsius, pH range slightly higher than what is recommended for them. So for most fish, they're very, very flexible in what environment they feel good in. So you don't need to be so specific. I think most of the plants are much more picky on where they feel good. To put all I've said into practice, I have a few examples from our showroom, well, at the moment and in the past as well, which are good examples for all these practices. For example, this Fabian's tank he built for us. This is an NA layout, and so he chose the Congo tetras, which are classic NA style fish. Matches the layout perfectly. We had the same in the 650 with our angelfish, which is again a classic combination. And as mentioned before, with not distracting yourself from your beautiful angelfish, we used black neons next to them to have that movement without having additional colors. On the colorful side, we had the volcano setup built by Balázs. It was just a black floor all around, lots of red plants, and the red fish to complement the scape. So he had the flame tetras and the gold gouramis, which are actually red in color, but the name is gold. So again, that was red on red, personal preference and taste and art, basically. So the fish are part of your tools in creating your art in an aquascape. And then there is another aspect, which is, I don't think it's very common, but when you choose your fish based on your inspiration for the tank itself. Two examples for this are my Avatar build and my Lion King build. In my Lion King build, I've chosen the honey gouramis because of the vivid yellow color, which for me represents the lions from Lion King. I've also wanted chocolate gouramis, just two of them, to represent Pumbaa, but I never got them when the scape was running, so I lost out on that part. I think an even better example is my Avatar setup, where I've used antler guppies, which are very, very colorful and in my mind perfectly resemble the flying dragon things they have in the Avatar movie. And once you have your fish in your tank, you need to feed them, and feed them properly. It's best to have at least 2 or 3 different types of food for your fish to keep the diet varied. You don't want to eat the same thing every day. The fish don't want to eat the same thing every day either, but it's not just about their taste and their liking, but also different fish food have different stuff in them, so different levels of protein and vegetables and so on. And that's why it's important to give them a mixed diet. And also keep in mind the grain size of your fish food. In the Green Aqua Best Bite range, we have nano, small and medium. Medium is the largest we have actually. But these are designed for different sized fish, because obviously the smaller the fish, its mouth is smaller as well. So you need to feed it with something very, very small. But if you start feeding your bigger fish with very small food, they have to eat a lot for no reason. So try to keep that in mind as well. Also, it's nice if you mix in some frozen food, maybe even some live food. These things are not necessary for most fish, but they are always a good thing for them. So just occasionally, once a week, once every 2 weeks, if you can feed them, for example, frozen food, they're gonna look a lot nicer. And for feeding times, our practice is to feed our fish once a day, and the amount is whatever they take in about a minute from the water surface. You don't like any food that actually starts going down in the water and starts collecting in the bottom of your tank, because that's just going to start rotting, and then that's going to create a much worse environment for your fish. So it's always better to feed them a bit less than feed them too much. If you like this type of content, please hit the like and subscribe to the channel. And in the comments, let me know what your favorite fish is. I've already told you mine. Thank you for joining me. See you next time. Goodbye.